A jaw born to crush bones lies motionless under the scorching sun. In these murky waters, the caiman is an invisible guillotine. It decides who gets to drink and who dies. But right now, it doesn't know that it is being hunted. We used to think that an armored crocodile lying at the water's edge was an impenetrable fortress. But the truth is, in the Pantanal swamps, that rule is broken. The underwater killer is becoming prey to a ghost on the shore. The distance is now measured in steps. For this male leopard, life and death are decided by a single breath. If it steps on the wrong dry twig, the prey will disappear, and hunger and thirst will continue to drain its strength during this harsh, dry season. But if it pounces at the wrong time, those teeth will immediately turn and counterattack. In nature, even the most skilled hunter can lose their life simply by choosing the wrong target. How could a lone feline take down an armored machine right in its own territory? The secret doesn't lie in size, but in an incredibly brutal survival weapon. A bloody finishing skill unmatched by any other big cat on the planet. Will the ruler of Pantanal prevail, or will it become a victim of its own pride? Welcome to the Pantanal, Brazil, the planet's largest tropical wetland. This is not just a stunning natural backdrop. It's a fierce battlefield where the rules of survival are rewritten daily by water, mud, and darkness. In this kingdom, the shimmering waters are both the source of life and a cruel trap for the weakest. To rule such a complex ecosystem, this predator must accept a life of complete solitude. This male leopard holds a vast territory, a boundless empire that demands constant, relentless patrolling. For it, the winding riverbanks are not just the easiest path through the dense jungle. They are also the lifeline of its hunt, where every creature must congregate. In the wild, everything is bound by thirst. Prey are forced to reach the water's edge to survive, but they don't realize that the water's edge is the thinnest line between the world of the living and the dead. Leopards understand this deadly condition. As one of the few large cat species capable of swimming and perfectly adapted to a submerged environment, it transforms the most dangerous place into its own execution zone. However, in such a vast kingdom, knowing where the prey is located is one thing. Whether or not to take their life is a bloody survival dilemma that not every strong animal can solve. Despite its formidable strength, the leopard never hunts easily. More than half of its ambushes end with empty stomachs. The scent trail led it to a herd of peccary wild boars, a preferred source of protein. Their heavy bodies prevented the leopard from pursuing them over long distances. It was forced to close the distance using its absolute stealth skills. Just a few more meters, and a tearing pounce would have been unleashed. But in the deep forest, prey is never alone. The limited visibility of the wild boars was compensated by watchmen high above. A piercing scream tore through the silence. The forest's alarm system was activated. The wild boars panicked and fled. The hunt ended before their claws could even stain with blood. Hunger was gnawing at him. The striped predator was surrounded by tempting meals. A single agouti guinea pig on the ground could provide temporary sustenance, but the dozens of eyes of the coati pack in the trees made any attempt to approach a grave risk. Survival isn't just about tearing apart. It's a meticulous calculation of trade-offs. The leopard decided to stop. Abandoning a hunting opportunity wasn't cowardice or laziness. It was a masterful energy-saving tactic. not risking expending energy on a surefire chance of failure and revealing its own position. Patience finally led to a colossal target, a tapir, a massive chunk of meat that could weigh 3 times as much as a leopard. If this creature could be brought down, the leopard would have a feast that would provide enough energy for days on end. However, the current situation was a trap. The tapir was positioned where the water was its most powerful ally. Although the leopard was an excellent swimmer, crossing the strong current would completely ruin the element of surprise. The distance was too great, and the prey had a clear environmental advantage. The jungle predator decided to retreat. In the wild, attacking doesn't always guarantee victory. Retreating at the right moment is how the strong preserve their lives for the next battle. Survival is not just a matter of the stomach. For a dominant male, its ultimate duty is to leave its bloodline on this territory. The mating call of a female activates the most powerful wild instincts, overshadowing both hunger and the usual cold vigilance. But in this age, the deep forest no longer belongs exclusively to nature. For the first time, the king of the Pantanal walks into a trap. However, those outside the cage do not bring death. They are biologists. This trap is not to take its magnificent fur, but to place a tracking collar around its neck. Even so, for a wild creature that has never known fear, the experience of being deprived of its freedom, drugged, and surrounded by humans is still a terrifying ordeal. A boundary that reminds us the apex predator is still incredibly small in the face of human power. After the shock of survival, the male leopard's vigilance is heightened to the maximum. Once bitten by a snake, 10 years afraid of ropes. But the call of nature is undeniable. This time, its sacrifice yielded real results. A mature female in her ovulation period. The lone wolf finally has a companion. But don't let romance deceive you. In this harsh world, there is no place for love. The male will cling to the female, mating relentlessly with tremendous intensity for a few short days. It does this not to build a family, but to ensure no other male has the chance to interfere with its bloodline. As soon as the breeding cycle ends, the contract of survival is torn. It departs, continuing the endless cycle of patrols and hunger. It will never know the face of its offspring, and the young will grow up without the protection of blood ties. The king of the Pantanal returns to its true nature, a solitary, cold-blooded hunting machine, ready to face the most deadly challenges when the dry season begins to drain the life force of the entire land. The Pantanal has no place for stability. When the dry season arrives, the flooded kingdom is drained, turning into cracked swamps. The water recedes, leaving behind deadly traps. Millions of fish are crammed into narrow, oxygen-depleted spaces. For many creatures, this is a disaster, but for other predators, it's a feast. Jaguar caimans are not just lifeless logs waiting for their opportunity. When food is concentrated, they become a brutal hunting fleet. They know how to coordinate, lining up to corner the fish before unleashing devastating bites. In these shallow waters, caimans are the sole rulers. But, right on the shore, another king is also craving a meal. After days without food, the leopard's energy was dwindling. It needed a large meal, and the capybara, the world's largest rodent, was the perfect target. Although lacking sharp claws, the capybara possessed a formidable survival shield: water. They could dive deep and hold their breath for 5 minutes. Therefore, they never strayed far from the riverbank. But the leopard's biggest obstacle wasn't underwater, but on the back of its prey. The birds of prey were acting as sentinels overhead. They had extremely sensitive light reflexes. A single misstep from the leopard and a single shriek would send the entire capybara swarm plunging into the murky river. The leopard had already experienced defeat at the hands of the forest's warning systems. This time, it had to be invisible. There was no sound, no warning signs, only a flash of lightning darting out from the realm of the dead. The capybaras scattered in panic, but for one individual, the line of survival was severed. The distance had been calculated with absolute precision by the leopard. In nature, speed isn't everything. The ultimate patience to wait for the moment the opponent lowers its defensive weapons is the key to the greatest predators. A perfect jaw lock, a victory that relieved the gnawing hunger. The leopard dragged its prize into the darkness to enjoy in peace. It had proven its unparalleled ambush skills. But one meal doesn't solve the pressure of an entire dry season. The warm-up battle was over. Now, to truly survive, the king of the Pantanal would have to face the most dangerous opponent of this land. A meal of capybaras only sustains the leopard for a few days. As the dry season drags on and wild prey becomes scarce, these white figures on the grasslands become a deadly temptation. The livestock are slow, cumbersome, and almost defenseless. For a top predator consumed by hunger, this is a ready-made feast. Yet, the leopard chose to retreat. Its wild instincts told it that behind those weak creatures lay a force it could never defeat. This is a tragedy without a villain. For the leopard, the cow is just a piece of meat for survival. But for the herders, it is their property and livelihood. When the boundary between the jungle and the grasslands is blurred, conflict is inevitable. In nature, leopards fear no fangs or venom. But the real enemy that pushes them to the brink is the enemy without fangs. Every year, countless areas of mangrove forests and wild grasslands are leveled. Forests are cut down. Grasslands are plowed. When habitats disappear, wild prey like wild boars and capybaras vanish with them. Territories are fragmented by fences. Hunting routes are blocked. Cornered. Hunger forces them to seek out livestock, only to pay the price with rifle bullets or poisoned carcasses. A leopard has the strength to crush the skull of the most dangerous reptile, but no matter how strong it is, it cannot defeat chainsaws on its own. Without space to survive, the king of the jungle is nothing more than a fading shadow. And then, nature decided to reshuffle the survival game. The harsh dry season gave way to heavy tropical rains. Tens of thousands of square kilometers of the Pantanal were submerged. Herds of herbivores were forced to migrate to higher ground. Prey was dispersed. For many predators, this change was a disaster. But not the leopard. It was born to rule both on land and in water. The flooded areas did not deter it, but only required it to change its hunting tactics. Beneath the deep water, an armored machine lurked. During the dry season, they were cornered. But now, with the backing of millions of cubic meters of water, the Jaguar Caiman had regained its full strength and absolute danger. The leopard was very hungry, and this time it decided to enter the home turf of death. Hunger had reached its breaking point. The leopard needed a massive meal, and it had locked its sights on the dominant predator in the murky waters. The caiman lay with its mouth agape, basking in the sun. This is how the cold-blooded reptile regulates its body temperature to fuel its brain. It looks slow and lazy, but it's a deadly illusion. In a split second, it could flick its tail, slip into the water, and become an elusive ghost. Faced with its rock-hard armor and jaws capable of crushing bone, the leopard had only one chance. It had to get close enough. It had to strike with absolute precision. If it couldn't incapacitate its prey immediately, it would be dragged to the bottom of the river. The armored predator sensed danger, but the explosive speed of the big cat wiped out any chance of escape. The water surface burst. A bloody struggle ensued between claws and scales. The caiman thrashed wildly, searching for an opportunity to launch a counterattack. But this is where the leopard's most brutal secret weapon came into play. Unlike lions or leopards that typically bite the throat to suffocate their prey, the leopard possesses a unique finishing skill: the bite through the skull. Its massive jaws generate a tremendous biting force, piercing even the hardest armor and directly destroying the crocodile's central nervous system. The battle for survival ended. Patience, explosive strength, and a perfect natural weapon determined the outcome. The underwater hunter now became the bloody prize for the king of land. In nature, there is no mercy. The winner is the one with the better weapon and the better timing for striking. A huge meal has been secured. Hunger has been appeased. Today's battle has ended with victory for the strongest. But this victory doesn't bring lasting peace. In just a few days, hunger will return. The leopard's cruel cycle of survival will begin again. Patrolling, stalking, trading, failing, and waiting for moments of life. It was born to be a perfect assassin, a machine forged by nature to rule both the darkness of the jungle and the death of the murky waters. However, its kingdom is shrinking day by day. A leopard can crush the skull of a mature caiman, but it cannot hunt if the river disappears. It cannot rule if its wild kingdom is torn apart and fragmented. In this world, brute strength is not enough. The jaguar needs Pantanal, and Pantanal, too, needs the silent presence of the king of the jungle.